Okay, it's 11:04. We have 25 people in the call at this moment. I I think we should get started here. People can join. So today we'll mostly start with the parking lot. I saw there are a lot of questions around the Scrum process, even though we have not gone too far into that one. But people have questions. So I think the questions that they have in the very high level, I'll answer those first, and then I'll keep all other questions to the sessions where we'll be covering the subject and it will be clarified in the due course. So here I'm going to start sharing my screen. So we started talking about the high level picture of the program, release planning, all those. Then we came to the team level where we started discussing again high level about each of the artifact roles and the events. Then we started to deep dive, but we didn't actually go into much detail about each of the fact. But since people have questions, so I went to parking lot and try to analyze what people have question, then came up with a short list which I think we should discuss, and then we can proceed. So there was one fundamental question. When I saw this one, I thought definitely whatever I have told so far not very clear to everyone. So this question is about iteration and sprint. So there is some clarification needed. So is iteration and sprint goes in parallel. So when this comes, so that means people are thinking iteration and sprint, they are two different things. So to clarify, they are the same. The iteration and sprint, they are basically same thing, different terminology in different context. So iteration is normally a generic statement for agile process. It's a cyclic process that we are utilizing, and sprint is specific to Scrum, where it has a specific time, or it's a time bound activity. So if a team is doing sprint, they will usually take 1 to 4 weeks. So if they are using one week sprint or iteration, they will be using that one. So sprint and iteration, they are the same thing. The only thing how we are utilizing that one. So can we have more than one sprint for one iteration? So just to clarify, no. So sprint and iteration, they are same, so it cannot be. So I don't know who asked this question, but if anybody has any clarification, further clarification needed, definitely we can talk. So just to clarify more into that one, so here I am putting, so iterative and incremental delivery model, what we discussed earlier, right? So each of the circle is iteration, and those are basically, we can talk it as sprint or iteration, doesn't matter, but it all depends on what practice you are using within the organization. Based on that practice, you will be able to utilize a specific terminology, whether you will be telling sprint or iteration. So in SAFe, we use iteration. On Scrum, we use sprint, just to clarify. And you see here, these are the iteration or sprint going back and back. So each of the iteration is delivering something, which is the PSI, which we'll be talking. There is a question also. We'll be talking about that one. So these are basically increments, and it increments PSI, which is potentially shippable implement. So again, this picture, the iteration, what we are saying, iteration or sprint. So within that we have different roles and different events. We have iteration planning. In Scrum, we'll be telling it as sprint planning. And we have daily stand-up, and in Scrum, people use daily Scrum. In the review meeting, we'll be utilizing the name sprint review. Here with the generic term, it is iteration review, iteration retro or sprint retro, something like that. So come back to the basic model here, and we talk about all those. Now going to the next question. So somebody mentioned about, we talked about avoiding scope changes in an iteration, but if the business or senior management asks for a change, then how do we accommodate that change? Do we remove the items from the iteration backlog, replace or add new items to the backlog? How does this work? How does this affect the team velocity? There are few things we have not discussed in detail. One of them is velocity, how to calculate, how does it work. But the top fact is how do we avoid scope changes, right? So here, let me see if I have further slides or not. No. So think of organization, right? You are working within the organization and within the team, and changes are coming from various angles. It could be coming from the high level, it could be coming from the team itself. When I say team itself, you have to understand different roles like scrum master, product owner, and development team. So those two roles which I mentioned, scrum master and product owner, those are specialized role, and change could come from product owner. Product owner is connected with the product management, and they are discussing about the changes, the feature they need to work, and during that process change might come. So when change comes from the product owner, then team works with the product owner, find out how they can balance the work. So that means when I say balance the work, that means team has committed to do certain work, and they have certain capacity, and within that capacity and the duration, whether it is 2 weeks, 1 week, or 4 weeks, whatever it may be, right? They are trying to achieve something. So they have committed to certain goals or objectives they need to finish. So when it comes from or within the team, means the product owner is bringing the thing. Product owner is very well aware of the situation, that this is the team composition, this is the capacity, this is the velocity they are targeting every sprint, and how do we manage, right? So when the new changes coming, so product owner is responsible to work with the team to balance it. That means they have to find out what other priority within the sprint that can be taken out, what priority they have within the iteration that can be taken out, and new item be included. So that means the new item the product owner is looking for the team to resolve or work on has to be enough priority to take out the lowest priority item and bring the new item. So product owner works with the team to find out where it will fall. Okay, we have different priorities of items, so then they work together, find out, okay, what is the priority of the new item and how it is impacting the overall goal. So if I have a goal, and if a new item is not fitting into that one, then probably that new item is not ready to be introduced within this one. So within the discussion, it so happens many of the item will not be introduced. So that is where basically team works and try to find out how they can avoid the scope changes, right? So when things comes from the outside of the team, that becomes little bit more challenge. So that needs to be what, and Scrum Master as a facilitator works with the team to make sure how they can basically work with those. So it is again the same thing, right? So where, if for example a development manager or a senior leader who is in position power, they will be thinking that, okay, hey, I have this item and this team needs to work on this particular item, right? So when they have the power, team is not in a position to say no to them, right? So this is one of the important fact or the training given to every team member, not to fear. So when we say not to fear, means we give them the the opportunity to learn how to say no, right? That means we should train them that this not simply saying no, but we have to give them the ability to say no in a nicer way. I'll give one example, right? So practical example, right? So within my team, and people are working, and one senior person or the stakeholder comes and saying that, hey, we have a high priority item that needs to be worked. So first of all, team when it comes to the team, mostly like they come and directly talk to the team member instead of talking to the scrum master or product owner. So team owner, the team members, when they are getting contacted directly, right? So the what training I have given to them is basically when things comes like this, don't say no to them. Politely tell them that okay, any change needs to be talked about. Please contact our product owner. So, product owner is the person who is owning the backlog, and he or she will decide whether this item needs to be worked on or not. Right? So, please go through that process. So, the leadership person or the outside stakeholder, um, he or she doesn't have any choice but to go through the product owner. When it comes to the product owner, the person is basically looking into the team and trying to find out how this can be worked on, right? The product owner also cannot say no to the person, because the person in position having power, and product owner cannot say no, right? But there should be way to say no, right? So when the person is coming with enough information to justify that why this item needs to be worked on right now. So product owner first negotiate, okay, can this be worked next sprint, which is another maybe 1 week, because 1 week we have completed, another 1 week the sprint will be done, we can start working. So but most of the time people will be coming saying that, oh no, this is the highest priority, this is so critical that we need to work on this one right now. So product owner cannot say no immediately, but again there is way to say no. So product owner brings the stakeholder to the stand up itself, where people are working on items uh, or planning their day, where they are discussing and talking about what needs to be done next, right? So during that process, so the stakeholders comes, because product owner has directed to that stand up and saying that, hey, we are working on this one, and you come to the stand up and discuss about your item. So people are working and talking about their goal and how they can improve the goal during the work process that they are doing today. So that time, product owner introduces the stakeholder saying that this person or whoever, people mostly knows the person. Okay, so he or she has a new item that needs to be worked on, and it seems to be critical, and let's see what can be done. So the product owner asks the stakeholder, you see that we have these items, these are the priority, and where you want your new item to fit in, right? So think this one, okay, so we have the top priority item number one, this is so critical that okay, without this one our sprint goal will be in a problematic situation, right? Where you want to put, in the top or in the middle or down, right? So the stakeholders looks into the backlog, the sprint backlog, and try to find out where he or she can fit in the new item. So during that process, if it is really critical, it will definitely go to the top or it will stay somewhere. But we have found out that many of the time they come up with their item, when we ask them to fit the new item into the sprint, that time they really find out that okay, no, this can be work next sprint. So this is the way you can avoid. So it is all about how you are managing, how you are working with people, and finding out how you could balance it. Don't say no, but there is a way how to basically work with them and fit the items to the sprint backlog if it is really necessary. Any question at this point? Because this is a crucial part, and that's the reason I kept this question on the top, kind of, to discuss. And if you are having difficulty as a scrum master or product owner, how you need to manage, so definitely there will be a lot of exercise to understand, but at least you need to understand that how to manage this scope change in the middle, because many organization, many teams face this one, and this is universally a problematic item. People do not know how to manage. And the example I gave, this is just an example. Based on your context, you need to find out how you need to balance it. It is up to you. You need to come up with creative idea. How do I manage this one? How do I basically control this particular activity right now? What is the best thing that needs to be done for the team, right?
And sometimes it might turn out that requirement could be critical. Then you might have to change few items, right? If it needed. Scrum master, product owner has to decide that, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that is true. So when that is what. So when you give the opportunity to the stakeholder to fit the item into the sprint, right? So the person is putting one item, and same amount of work with lower priority has to come out. So that is the understanding. So stakeholder needs to understand, if I am moving this into this board right now, I have to take out similar capacity of work from the sprint backlog, so that what is the impact. So that is where, when we give them the opportunity to play, that time you will find out that things will be more controlled than you are basically controlling, right? So, so for example, if a particular story having 8 story point, we have not talked about story point within the team, but assume that it's a amount of work or unit of work that needs to be done, and it is called 8 story point, for example, some unit. So then we have to find out that 8 story point worth of work that needs to be removed from the current sprint, and if we remove that one, what is the impact to the overall goal of the sprint delivery. So that is the most important thing. So once we understand that one, then whether this new item can be introduced or not, that depends on how team is working through it.
So,
Yeah,
this
Vishnu, I
was
have a quick question. Vishnu, I have a quick question. So you talked about the stakeholder. So the stakeholder will be part of the stand-up meeting, correct? Because you have to bring him onto the floor so that he can speak about the whatever changes he needs in the that sprint. But
Mhm.
then the discussion will happen then and there, isn't it?
Yes, so stakeholders, so when I say stakeholders, not all stakeholders come into stand up, daily stand up every day, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Based on the requirement, need, they will be coming, right? So for example,
Yeah.
the example I gave, so the person coming with the requirement and talking to the team, we basically redirecting to the product owner redirecting to a specific event, which is stand up, and saying that you come to that one, and we'll figure it out whether we can fit it in or not. So daily stand up is a planning meeting kind of thing. So it is not upfront sprint planning meeting, but it's a daily planning meeting where people are struggling and finding out what best they can do to achieve the sprint goal. So that
Yeah.
is where the stakeholders coming into picture. So depending on their need, different people will be joining with the team to discuss about their item.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Here. Any other question?
Yeah, Vishnu, this is Arvind.
Yes, sir.
I I'm learning these things definitely, but I'm just going back to one of my experience where I want to understand how this iteration changes or this sprint is impacting the planning and execution as well as achieving the target. So, for example, we were working on the, so we are actually the, at the receiver end. Like I hire an organization to provide me, for example, SAP Fury support, right?
Mhm.
So they work with us, and we started working. The problem which we face is we have geographical differences, and in pharma company we have system wise also there are some regulations which impact a different part of the geography. So we built up one process. I mean, we work with the service provider who designs the platform and provides the system for us with a specific framework which we ask them. and then we face some audit, and then if they ask us to do something, then we change. So in such type of dynamic changing scenarios, I often personally face the issue of the implementation gets affected, and we get delay in implementing the project on the different sides.
Mm-hmm.
So how this agile process is going to help us to avoid such type of, there will be having this type of unprecedented changes, which happens because of the business requirement. So how
Right.
to manage that?
So yeah, no, this is a very good question, Arvind. In fact, when you understand this agile, then very well. Once basically a new person might be thinking a little bit about agile, but understanding has not come into picture. So if you are really understanding the agile, how agile works, then it will be very easy to handle it, right?
Good.
So
Okay.
agile is basically talking about iterative development, and basically you are coming up with increment, right? And each of the increment coming, giving you the feedback, whether this is working for you or not working, and what next action we have to do. So when we are saying iterative, so if you talk about waterfall also is kind of iterative, but it is not. So so that means what is the fundamental difference? So we have to think of how we can make this one faster. This iteration, if I make it small, very small, tiny, then with a short time span, you can circle through all the aspect of whether you are doing this research, then you are doing some kind of design, then coming up with your product, all those, right? If I take that cycle and make it tiny and think of within that short span, how much research I can do, how much design I can do, that, so not thinking of a big design, big research, right? Okay, so if you make it small, then you have the ability to deliver something small and then understand what failure is coming. And when you have small times box, then you have the ability to introduce any change anytime, because when people comes with any change, you have the ability to tell them that wait for another 2 days or 5 days, next thing will be introduced, right? So you'll have the ability to prioritize that time and say whether you need to take the change and then introduce this thing, right? So if you have, like, if you say that every 3 months I am doing something, and within that 3 months nobody should come and disturb me, then it's a problem. So it is not agile, because you are making the time box so huge that okay, you are taking so much of risk, you are keeping people wait, you are doing everything which is not basically agile. So if you think that if you can make the time box small, within that time box you can iterate through and understand and get feedback, everything happening within that time, then you will be able to handle. Arvind, so do you think I answered your question? Maybe not. Maybe I understood what you are discussing.
No, I mean, you are yes or no, yes and no, both.
Okay.
The answer from me, because we practically faced problem with the vendors who are designing those platform for us,
Mm-hmm.
wherein we have to ask them, and they become very frustrated that you keep us asking us to do this change. You told us a month before, we have designed and we put it in place.
Mm-hmm.
So certain times I remember, I mean, I was not aware of this agile and these things, but I used to tell them, when you are designing a user requirement for me, you have to keep a space for me wherein you should be aware that I will be bringing changes which will be based on the certain dynamism. For example, FDA's requirement. For example, the regulatory needs, some law changes. Like the COVID-19 has come, right? So every system has been changed, including FDA.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to accommodate some catastrophic changes also in
Right.
the process. So,
Right.
but the software vendor was very much frustrated with me personally, because I keep on asking, no, I don't want this right now, and now let me go in this way. So
Right.
I was thinking that how definitely this systematic way of getting into slowly building up. I think the most important, as we discussed in one of the previous last classes, that customer focused as well as understanding customer needs regularly is very important.
Right.
That to build
Right.
up a good platform and provide the right service.
Yeah.
Yep.
So sorry to interrupt, and in essence of time, definitely I need to move forward. But
Yeah,
one thing
please.
I want to tell, important for everyone, not your scenario only. So this is very crucial, right? So when I'm giving this training, the first thing you must have seen is saying be agile, right? So be agile is only one side. We are talking about ourselves, how we can be agile, right? So that we understand and come up with ideas and deliver things, right? But it doesn't work in one side. So it has to be other side also. When I say other side is you are agile, but your team is not agile. So you need to see that how team can be agile. Your team is agile, team is ready to take and work in a manner that will be helping the organization to deliver things faster. But organization, the higher level organization is not ready. They are not agile. If organization is ready and agile, still there is problem. The suppliers, the vendors, they are not agile, right? So when we talk about this agile movement, that has to happen in a way that wherever and whoever working, we need to work together and make sure we are all part of the same game and we are all agile, right? So in your case, the vendors, they are resisting changes because I feel they are not agile. They might be talking that they are agile, but maybe the processes are not properly done in a way that okay they are not suitably agile to fit the work in the right way, right? So uh, we have to holistically look into the overall picture and see where we stand from that angle, right? Not from
Yeah.
your angle. So
Yep.
everything has to be that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Vishnu. Thanks. Sorry for taking everybody's time.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, this is something, okay, I'll stop everyone if I see that, okay, it is not in the right direction. So these
Yeah.
questions are actually good questions and needs to be discussed because that will clarify for today and for future, right? How we need to act, how we need to change our mindset, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Vishnu, Arvind, thanks for that question because always we get to hear from the agile perspective and from the Scrum Master's perspective. It's
Yeah.
very less that we get to hear from the vendors or the actual client's perspective, what they actually want from the customer, like from the Scrum
Yeah.
Masters.
Yep.
So thanks for that question.
No, thank you.
Good. So next question I extracted is could you please explain little bit about VIR and PSI, right? So we talked about VIR or VVIR, uh, big visual information radiator, and PSI is potentially shippable increment. So let's talk about VIR or VVIR or IR, whatever you talk. So information radiator. So whether it is big, small, doesn't matter. So example here. So you go to a stadium and you are sitting, and there is a big board with different teams, different names, their score, all those. So what does it mean? So basically it's the information radiator. So it's radiating information. Nobody is asking anyone, so they are able to see, they are able to understand what is the state of this game at this moment. It's a particular moment at a particular time. What is the state of this game going on, right? So similarly within Scrum we have information radiator which gives or radiates information about state of the sprint, state of what we are doing at a particular time. So that's the reason we say BVIR. So it could be on the program level, it could be on the team level, it could be on different levels, right? But essentially the uh, information that it provides that helps all stakeholders, and they don't need to go around and ask many questions to people. Question might be there, but essentially information is there for them to understand. So when we create a information radiator, it should be done in such a way that nobody should ask many questions. They should clearly understand from the information that is radiating, and the person or the stakeholder is clear about what is going on. They can see there is a problem here, team is struggling here, and they can, stakeholders like leadership role people, right, they will be coming and looking into the information, and they will clearly understand there is a problem. They will talk to the scrum master or maybe product owner or maybe the team, and finding out what needs to be done, what are the struggles, and how we can remediate those. So in the scrum, this, you see that on the top there are sticky notes uh, on the wall, right? This is true example, and this is what my experience. Multiple teams, we do not put on computer anything on the wall. On the wall we create scrum board, kanban board, right, and create different way of how to manage those flow. So we'll talk more about that one, but this is an example. This is called information radiator. You can say VVIR, VIR, whatever it may be. Okay, so this is a small scale example. Here team having different columns here, not started, development, test, accepted. This is very rudimentary, and to start with anything we are working on, right, when team starts with scrum process or kanban process, they start with creating similar kind of board where they will think that, okay, if I need to complete something, if I'm working on stories, how do I complete those? How do I make sure that people understand what we are working as a team, and within the team and outside of the team? How do we facilitate transparency? Okay, so this is something, when we create a Kanban board, we need to make sure that it is very clear to audience where we stand, and the line here, straight line here today, so that clarifies that, okay, we are here, and this is the state. This is the state means, okay, one story is accepted, means team has worked, completed, testing is done, accepted, and two stories in the testing side going on. One is just started, and there are 5 items in current development, and 2 have not started, right? So this one gives little bit information about what is going on, right? So this is all about BVIR. If any question, definitely I can take a quick question. Okay, good. So then next is PSI, which is potentially shippable increment. So we talked about iteration or sprint. Within the sprint, people are working different events, and finally at the end, there is on the picture there was a box. Let me see the picture, go back. So here the PSI, right? So basically we are starting with the iteration planning. Before that we have release planning, and all those information coming to the product backlog, and then information taken, we are doing iteration planning, and then rotating through different events, all those, and we are doing review, and finally the product is reviewed and tested, everything is done. We are saying that, okay, this is ready to go, right? When I say ready to go, what does it mean? Can it go to the customer hand right now? Probably not, because it is ready from our end, but maybe business is not ready to deliver it to production, right? But when I say ready, that means the product is actually tested, actually it's a working product, and can be deployed to production, given to the customer. Can be, but essentially we are not saying that it is actually gone to the customer hand. So that's the biggest difference. So that's the reason it's saying potentially shippable increment. So we have an increment, and this is ready, but depending on product owner's understanding and ability to move it to customer, it can be. So I have copied this one from the Scrum guide, which I was mentioning in the beginning of the session. So it talks about the increment is the sum of all the product backlog items completed during a sprint, which is iteration, and the value of the increments of all previous sprints. So previously So on the picture you saw, I want to go back so that you understand. So right now maybe this one, right? So we are talking about this increment. This is potentially shippable increment. What this contains nothing but all previous increments. So it is not independent. I am not creating same small one. So this item included here becomes big, and the new item whatever I want, so it became like this big. So it is incrementally giving more value. So the values are added, and finally it is going like this. And at any time, suppose here product owner thinks that okay, I have enough information or enough features or enough capabilities that needs to be given to the customer at this point. Maybe this is a Black Friday event where I have these features ready and I need to give this one to customer because they will be coming and we have some gift offer feature some other, right? So at this point this increment I can basically send it to customer. So this is where product owner decides and does whatever due diligence. And it talks about increment must be done, which means it must be in usable condition and meets the Scrum team's definition of done. So this is something we have not discussed within the team. Many people might be knowing or must be knowing because so many people already known to this agile thing, and so we'll talk about it. An increment is a body of inspectable done work that supports empiricism at the end of the sprint. The increment is a step towards vision or goal. The increment must be in a usable condition regardless of whether the product owner decides to release it. So this part is critical. So that's the reason it is called potentially shippable increment, because it is up to the product owner to decide when to release it. Any question?
Yes, no, there's no question, but I just quickly give an example here. When it's a potential shippable increment from the software industry standpoint, it's the first sprint goal is to create a login screen where you put user ID and password. So you just say that it's a usual, it's done, and then but it's potentially shippable because it doesn't may not add much value to the customer. It's just login screen. Is that a correct understanding?
That is true. That is true. So from the team perspective, we had a goal to have the login screen created, and it is potentially ready. It is potentially ready to be delivered if product owner decides to release it. So for whatever reason, right? So if we create a release where we need to find out maybe from the internal customers whether login screen is working or not. So that time the product owner will come and saying that, hey, we are releasing this login screen and we have maybe a subset of people within our organization who will be testing this particular screen, right? It is not that, okay, my login screen is done on my dev box and I'm saying it is done. My sprint is done. No. So what we are saying essentially it is ready and can be released, right? So, but if it is not really ready for customer to consume, then product owner will not decide to take it to the customer. So that is the line we have put here. So it is potentially ready, but it is up to the product owner, right? So, but when we talk about a feature, so feature will be designed in such a way that okay, it will be mostly designed in such a way that it can be consumed by the customer. So that is where product owner comes up with features in such a way that they can decide if this is done, that means I'll be able to take this one to the customer. So we have to find out how we are designing the feature, how we are breaking the feature in such a way that it makes sense for product owner to take it to the customer. So it is all about how we are designing things.
So Vishnu, I have a question. This is Arvind.
Mm-hmm.
If I rightly understood, when the product is at a PSI stage, right, it's potentially shippable increment conditions. So as a process, do we need to do a test again before we release it to the customer,
Yes.
or as per the product owner need, or if product owner wants, we can just make it available to the customer?
Yeah, so that's a good discussion. I think that question should stay a little bit for future
Okay,
discussion.
okay,
When we talk about definition of done, so you are basically questioning about what is the meaning of done.
correct.
So that we'll discuss about definition
Okay,
of, and
let's go
then
ahead.
understand that one. So keep that one. But essentially, to answer your question, definitely. So when we are saying a potentially shippable increment, that means it is done with all level of things, right? Including testing. It is done. It is basically testing internally, tested by internal, like we say UAT, user acceptance test. So UAT is done,
Correct.
system testing is done, system is actually ready, so it can go. If we decide right now it has to go to customer, it has to go to, so it can go to customer. That is the only line we are putting, that okay, it is up to the product owner to decide when to release it. But if product owner says that okay, I'm ready now, system team should not come back say, hey, no, we are not ready. So that means it is not PSR.
Got it.
So this is a little bit about our process within our team. So I thought to clarify quickly, we are using many tools like Trello, Slack for communication, and is there any reason we are using many tools instead of common one, right? So then it says different tools have different use. That is Slack is for chat service, while Trello is for card management. So we cannot do the both task in any mentioned single application or tool. All tools using here in the training have different purpose. Moderator, please clarify. So I think yeah, the second paragraph clarifying the fact. So with one tool, definitely we cannot do everything. So if you go to any organization, you will find that thousands of different tools and processes are there. So we have to see that which tool is giving value, which tool is not giving value, and how much value we are receiving. So we have to decide, and we have to balance our activity accordingly. So here we have introduced Trello and Slack. Trello definitely, to me, it is giving value. It's a card management system where we are working and finding out how we can have the flow. So definitely that is required. And Slack is a communication mechanism, and it is created for us to see how we can collaborate within ourselves, how we can communicate within ourselves, make sure that okay, we are building team. Within the team we have enough opportunity to communicate among ourselves and get value, right? So if it is working, that is well and good. If it is not working, people are having challenge on Trello, Slack, let's talk about it, figure it out how we can solve it. I am not bringing a tool just to give you problem. That is not my intention, and nobody also thinks that way. But it is up to us. So let's see how we can utilize and improve ourselves. Any question? Okay. So next one is face-to-face interaction. How it would be more effective when we have multi-location operations. So to start with, I would say face-to-face interaction is something that we have to be clear that it can be physically face-to-face, or it can be virtually. Right now, we are doing also face-to-face. So people, that's the reason I say people please open your camera and people can see. We have teams. Within the teams, when you are going and doing the interaction, you'll be able to see people face to face. Okay, only thing, person is not standing in front of you, but you can see the person, you can feel what he is talking about, you can perceive the body language. All those are face to face, right? So only thing you have to see that okay, whether it is um, done the other way, right? So we have definitely a challenge while doing remotely or distributed team. Face to face is a challenging thing, and you'll find out in many cases um, people are not comfortable when they are working from home remotely, comfortable for opening their cameras, and there are reasons. I am not saying that okay, they should always open their camera and show face, not that way, but it helps when people are basically showing face to face and talking, because body language is the most important thing, right? So other fact is co-location. So you'll find out when people are doing, or organizations doing agile transformation, they are learning that uh, co-location is a most important factor where people can work together within the team, sitting together, having discussion, quick conversation, swarming, and different mechanism of communication, and finding out how they can deliver faster, right? So face to face is definitely important, and with multiple location, you have to find out as a scrum master, as a product owner, your role becomes crucial as a leadership. Okay, if you are within the team also, how you are doing self-organization. So those things. So when we talk about activities, events, you will learn more, but in essence, what I'm saying, it is up to you how you are managing those activities. And challenge is there, multi-location challenge is there if it is not co-located, but it is not rocket science where you will be like, okay, struggling too much. It will be okay as long as you find out what tool you need to use, what are the mechanism, how you need to handle those.
Vishnu, maybe a little bit can be louder. Sorry for that.
Can you repeat, please?
I was not able to hear you properly. It was a little bit lower volume for me, so maybe for me. But now it's okay. When you spoke now, your question is good. Correctly, I'm hearing.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also having little bit challenge when you are speaking this time, not other sessions.
Hmm.
Today there is some problem from your side coming up.
Might be an internet issue. Okay, go ahead. No problem.
So this one I didn't understand very well. So I need clarification from this question. So whoever had put this one, maybe if you can open up your mic and talk about this one, that this would be helpful if you recognize that you have entered this information. So I'll read through clearly for other people. They can see also. Before the start of each sprint, a planning meeting is held to determine which features will be included in the sprint. That is clear. Features enacts a change freeze to allow the team time to develop the user story as written before any changes can be made to prevent scope creep. A sprint backlog is made of all the user stories and tasks required to complete the sprint. Consensus. However, we suggest that the Scrum Master take the number in the middle and move on to the next user story. So I am not understanding what is the question. Anyone who wants to talk about it? Anyone who entered this one? Please clarify so that we can do something here. Or anyone from the group, if somebody is understanding what the question is, what it says, then we can definitely talk about it. Okay, I am going to move forward. I'm only thing I'm understanding from here, maybe somebody is asking how do we manage the estimation. So which we have not discussed. It talks about Scrum Master take the number. So I'm believing the Fibonacci sequence number we utilize on the estimation side.
Yeah, that's the one I can think of. Story points and allowing how many
Yeah, so
intake. Yeah.
and the Scrum Master take the number in the middle, which may not be good. So we'll talk about estimation, how best we can handle that one. But uh, let's skip this one because no one is speaking. But I'm at the same time I'm not sure why nobody is speaking about it, or maybe the person who wrote he's not available in the call. Okay. So this is one next one, program risk. We talked about it. So the person is saying that program risk have 4 stages, but sequence should be assigned, owned, mitigated, and finally resolved, because we need to identify a risk, react on it, and then resolve it. Please correct me if I am wrong. So first of all, I want to apologize for my mistake which I identified, which is something in the 4 stages. I mentioned one of them is assigned, which is incorrect. Because of this question, I identified the problem. So thank you to someone who basically put this question that gave me the opportunity to correct myself. So assigned is not a state, it's actually accepted. So I have corrected the big the picture to say that this is accepted, and then I'm going to explain these four so that we understand and why it is this way. The, so this one, it was saying assigned, so I have corrected to accepted. So thank you who has put the question. Now let's talk about this one. Hold on. Not moving. Okay. So program risk. So if you see what I had put, resolved, warned, accepted, and mitigated is basically ROAM. So we are using a mnemonic called ROAM because easy to remember. So the activity normally we do is called roaming activity. And when we say roam, everybody understand, okay, oh, we are doing roaming activity. That means we are talking about program risk and how to handle those. So let's understand, it's not exactly same as people talk about risk management, little bit different. This is specifically to the program and how we handle those, right? Program risk, during release planning, teams identify program risk and impediments that could impact their ability to meet their objectives. These are resolved in a broader management context in front of the whole program. So if we have 20 teams, 15 teams, all members are there, and we are discussing about how we can plan the release. During that time, we are identifying our issues, impediments, risk, all those. So during that time, we need to see how we can handle those risks, right? One by one, the risks are discussed and addressed with honesty and transparency, and then categorized into one of the following categories. Resolved means the teams agree that the risk is no longer a concern. So we started discussing, but after the discussion, we found out, no, this is not a risk. Okay, we are good. So resolved. Owned, someone on the program takes ownership of the risk since it cannot be resolved during the release planning. So owned means, okay, it's just somebody is saying, taking ownership, saying that, hey, we could not talk about this, but I am taking ownership, and maybe I'll set up meeting and discuss with the small group, because this risk seems to be part of, okay, those 2 or 3 teams. I will gather people, stakeholders from those teams, and make sure that we understand and we try to resolve that one. So that person takes ownership of coming up with a plan for that risk. Okay. Accepted is some risk are just facts or potential problem that must be understood and accepted. Means I don't have any solution. We discussed it. Nobody has any solution or how we can take care of this one. So we simply accept that risk is there, and if when risk occurs, we'll handle as it occurs and as it comes into our plate. Mitigated, teams identify a plan to reduce the impact of the risk. Mitigated doesn't mean that risk is completely gone. We have a plan to mitigate the risk. That's the meaning. So it's not exactly the regular risk management. So this is during the release planning, we take care of this. So we have used the word ROAM so that it will be easily rememberable, and people can talk about it. Any question?
Hi Vishnu, I have one question here. Arti here.
Yes, Arti.
So in PMI, kind of like, in project management, we were saying mostly like there is kind of identification and then prevention of the risk, right? And mitigation. So prevention is like, what measure we are doing to prevent the risk so that the risk will not occur. And then after the risk occur, like, what do we do to mitigate the risk? And also we had something as prioritization of the risk, and then like, categorizing and like prioritizing, saying like, okay, is it a high risk or a medium risk or low risk, and then do the necessary steps. So is this kind of like same here, or are we doing little different here?
So the PMI risk management, that's the reason I said it's little different in the beginning, right? So normally when we talk about those, it is kind of waterfall project management methodology where we talk that way. PMI also adopting agile, things are changing, but we do not go into rigorous risk management. The reason is this is critical and everybody should understand why we are not taking so much of time on risk management, identifying, analyzing, prioritizing, doing all those are standard activity happens within the waterfall mechanism of risk management. We do not do that one because we have the small time box of sprint where we act on certain thing and finding out what issues, what risk we have that time, and we come up with a action plan immediately to resolve things in the next moment. So that means here we take those risks in a high level, understand it, do not deep dive too much and do so much of activity where we are taking so much of assumptions. Risk are nothing but assumption about a future event, right? So if we deep dive and put our energy too much into that one, you will find out that we are wasting time. Instead of that one, take a small chunk of activity and find out immediately by execution. You find out what you have achieved and whether we have the risk or not. So there are different ways. So when we go through the actual execution, you will understand. So so at this point, I would say PMI is the level of risk management, and this one is a little bit different.
Thank you.
Did you answer, Arti? Okay. So next is question regarding SOS. We didn't talk much about SOS, but since the question came, let me clarify. This is on the big picture. So in the SOS meeting, do they discuss each team's impediments and try to find solutions for all, or what exactly do they discuss? This one question. Another related question is how frequently the meetings of SOS should happen and in a week, and how much duration, right? So all those will be answered here. So SOS meeting. First SOS meeting, who are the participants and what we do and what's the duration, everything is here. So the program manager, or we can say chief scrum master or RTE. So I am bringing one term RTE, which is release train engineer. This is on the safe scale agile framework, on the safe framework. So I'm using this one because if people are interested on safe certification, they might be knowing this one. So the program manager, mostly you know, right? A person who is managing the program, a chief scrum master, manager for scrum masters, or basically horizontally looking into scrum master, that kind of thing. So they facilitate weekly. So question was the duration and whether it is weekly or not. So or more frequently as needed. So depending on the situation, if we have a program, there are a lot of critical risk and there are a lot of impediments within the team. Dependencies are critical. Then people do more frequent. Otherwise, it is a weekly meeting and it is 30 to 60 minutes. Okay, bottom you can find out. So it happens. So SOS helps coordinate the dependencies of the agile teams within the program and provides visibility into progress and impediments. The program manager RT representatives from each team. So when we say representatives from each team, so basically the scrum master and many times the tech leads comes into basically this SOS and others where appropriate, like architect will be there, and the product managers will be there, and many other people, but mostly the scrum masters will be there to talk about, they review their progress towards milestones and release goals objectives. So focus here you have to look into. So they are not going to talk about everything. So they are focused. They are talking about their program milestones and release goals. Based on that, what are the critical items, the impediments, the risk, right? And how we can handle those in a way to basically move forward, and the flow will be smoother. So team is struggling with something, they are dependent on particular team, they are waiting for teams to get things done. So those will be talked about it. So so then other team, they will realize that okay, some people are waiting for them, right? So this is a mechanism where information is flowing from the top level to the bottom level to the top. Means the scrum master, they are taking the information, going to the top level where everyone is sitting, and then discussing, and then from top level whatever discussion outcome again is coming back to the team. So for example, I am a scrum master, I discuss about the impediment what I am having within the team, and talked about dependencies, all those. So other people helped me saying that okay, no, today we are going to provide this particular component to your team, so you will be able to test it, you will be able to come integrate test whatever necessary. So then that information I'll be bringing to the team saying that hey, this particular story was blocked, but the other team is going to give you tomorrow, and by this time you should have this one, and you can start working on it. So that's the information. Or they are struggling with so and so. Earlier they mentioned that they will be giving you this particular component by this date, but now there is a problem, so that is going to create so you are not going to get that one tomorrow, instead after 3 days. So that means immediately team understand they need to change their plan. Means okay, they were planning that they will start the next activity, the top activity here tomorrow, but they are going to skip that one and move the next item to the top and see what can be done. So that kind of plan happens, and with the scrum, many things are discussed, and everything cannot be sorted out there within that 30 minutes or 60 minutes normal time, right? So what they do is meet after. What is the meaning of that one? Is basically I came up with a question or a problem, and not that all 15-20 teams needs to sit there and discuss about my problem. My problem is associated with my team and related team, one or two teams. So to resolve those problems, everybody doesn't need to sit there and discuss about it. So what needs to happen? So they say that okay, team A and C, so meet after. That means they are giving a pointer saying that okay, scrum master and the tech leads or whoever within the team, please basically have a time. So somebody will say that okay, I'm going to set up a meeting immediately, or let's go to a room and start discussing. After the meeting they will basically go to a room, find a room, and start discussing about their problem, how to solve all those things. Then let's read through little bit scrum agenda, 30 to 60 minutes. So what they discuss, what did your team accomplish since the last meeting? So basically I'm a scrum master, so they will rotate based on the priority of the program. So they will go through the first item, or feature A is the critical one, and team A and C working together. So what's going on? Team scrum master for the team A, he or she talks about okay, what basically team is doing, right? And so in the last meeting we had discussed about certain priority, and we said that we are working on it, and this is what happened this time, right? So talking about what happened and what is the next plan. Then third item is what are the blockers. So this seems to be similar to the regular stand-up. In the regular stand-up, people ask these three questions: what I did yesterday, what I am planning to do today, and is there any impediment for me to move forward. So these are the standard questions, but in essence, people do not answer these questions straightforward like this. What did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? All those. So, but they talk in a way. They basically bring the focus towards the goal, and then talk about this is my goal, and to achieve this goal, we did something like this, and today we are planning to do this one, or this week we are planning to do this one. And for this particular priority or goal to achieve, I have no issue. Everything team is confident and they are doing whatever necessary. Right? Are you about to put a block in someone else's way? So this is the fourth item is very crucial. I am good. My team is working fine, but at at the same time I need to understand maybe there is a dependency of my team with others, right? If I understand that one, then immediately I'll think that okay, that would be my next priority or highest priority for me to work on, so that the other people will not be waiting for me. So this is something very crucial and needs to be understood. Meet after we talked, affected parties stay for problem solving meeting, and time box is as long as it takes. Means if there is a problem and crucial enough, as long as it takes, people will be sitting, discussing about it and finding out what needs to be done. Guidelines. So we talked about RT role a little bit. So the same thing, I'm saying whether it is a program manager or the chief scrum master. So they will be basically doing this one twice a week recommended, but mostly like people do weekly and even more frequently. Attendance is mandatory. This is not just okay. And if your team, so if you are the scrum master, somehow you are not able to come because you are sick or you have another critical meeting, so you need to send your proxy to the meeting. So it's a mandatory meeting. Distributed teams arrange a time when everyone can call in or attend in person. So if you have global program, multiple teams, so make sure we understand the timing, all those, and accordingly people can join. The RT has primary responsibility for communicating any major blocker, challenges, impediments to key stakeholders and release management team. So when we are going through that, here people are taking time to meet after, and they are going after fixing or finding the solution or a plan, but they are still struggling. So those things needs to be communicated immediately to the release management higher stakeholders or leadership, so that everybody is known about the situation. So basically transparency come into picture. So it is not that you are working in a vacuum, so and you are basically working just within two teams and nobody knows. You never know when you communicate those problems to the higher level and everybody understand the problem, and the priority changes for people and they come and help in a way, because they understand that how critical the overall program level goals are, and if we are not achieving that one as working as a whole team, then what basically they are losing and how it will impact everyone. So that's the reason everyone will come into picture and they will try to see what needs to be done. So this is a very crucial meeting. Okay, so this is 12:13. So we talked about parking lot. So and I know that there are a lot of other questions we have not discussed, and I kept for a reason. So let's see how we can answer that one through the regular process. Means when I am going through the presentation, you will find that your questions are answered. If at all it is not answered, then we can definitely talk about it. I'll make sure everything is answered. So at this point, let's take a break. Take a break for 5 minutes, and we'll come back and start Scrum process. I believe everyone okay here, so we can get started again.
I'm holding it very close to my mouth, but I don't know. Okay, is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we touched upon the number of members in a Scrum team. We say 5, 9, and 11. Okay, so my point is, if you talk about the waterfall model, what we have done before, like we know that there are projects which has people like spanning like from 20 to 30, 40, 50, even 60 people also work in the same project. Given the fact it's a very big project, okay. So my question here is like how that that knowledge, that understanding is transferred into this project framework, this strong framework, because we have a team of only 11 people. So and then you also mentioned later on that okay, we can have multiple teams, okay, the other teams like of 11 people each or 9 people each, whatever it is, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the question here is like how the coordination will happen between those two, because what happens normally if at all there are in a team there are 20 people developers are there, okay, so they have been given a piece of work to do, but here we are breaking into small pieces like 11, 9 or 5 or whatever, okay. So how that coordination is going to happen among the teams?
Okay, so this is a classic example. Definitely good question. So we talked about a little bit about release planning, right? Remember, so release planning. So we didn't go deep into it. In fact, we'll be doing practice so that you understand how it happens. So your question will be definitely answered there. How we basically coordinate. And we are talking about the team of teams. So that is where we are just introducing ourselves into that aspect. So I would say, Santosh, hold on to your question a little bit so you will understand. We will go through that thing so that you understand that how we are working together, and especially when we go for the certification thing, which I don't want to introduce that one here because it looks like okay, I'm now talking about something my personal thing, but everything cannot be understood in the basic foundation courses. Just to
Okay.
give little bit idea, right? So
Sure.
foundation course will give to a certain point. For example, I showed the Scrum Foundation picture, the core, right? Core building. Core building, you will not have every aspect, right? But you will have a strong foundation where you will see that you can build upon it. So when you build upon it, so you have to go through a lot of studies, a lot of different work group and understand those things, right? So your question comes into area where you need to have little bit depth understanding of this process. How do you manage multiple teams, right? I will end with our foundation course in a way that you will definitely understand the process. Definitely you will have understanding of how to manage multiple teams together and how teams work together to get things get done. So you'll have all those, but wait for that one. So that is coming, and to help on that process I had the plan to discuss about the teams and discuss about various other roles, and I want to see that how people are coming forward to volunteer themselves, because this training it is something that I cannot handle myself alone without having help from others. So I need volunteers, and once we have identified the volunteers to perform certain role to participate in that big event, what you are talking about, basically working with multiple teams, but it start with a big event where people need to be part of that one, starting from idea generation, working with different stakeholders, and then bringing those information down to the teams, and then how we connect the teams together, and then understanding the overall release goal, and then how it all are focusing towards that goal, and how they are basically working together to deliver the common goal. then only you will understand the whole process. So for that I need volunteers or participants from this group who can or are willing to help on that one. So essentially I need people working as product manager, working as architects, working as business owners. So why I'm saying that within this group we need to define so that I can talk separately with these people, then come up with some kind of case study, and then thinking that this is the program outcome that we need to achieve, right? How to achieve. So then we need to talk about the ethics, we need to talk about the features, we need to talk about the stories, and how team is going working together to deliver those. So all those will happen only when we have the strong team here, a strong program team I can say, and then within the team we are working together. So you will see that at the end everything is closed. So people will have lot of questions because the all are loose ends at this point, nothing is connected. Some connection we are bringing slowly and people will be understanding. So from beginning I said this is like a roller coaster. Until you end, at the end you do not have the full fun. You are going through the loop, up and down, everything will happen, you will feel scared, you will feel lot of things, and so all those things. But at the end when you get down from the roller coaster, you will find that okay, you have enjoyed fully. So this course is similarly at the same level, and you will feel those kind of emotion and all those things. One time you might feel that, oh, okay, I'm not getting anything, or I'm confused all about it, but at the end you'll find that everything is connected.
Okay, that makes sense, Vishnu. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you
sure.
so much. We'll do that. Yeah. So, and then about the volunteers, yeah, definitely when he's formed the group or team, whatever. So pick me up. Okay. Yeah, I'm ready for that. Okay. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Santosh.
Thank you.
Vishnu, can I ask a quick question, please?
Yeah, definitely, I am here.
I've had this confusion, like going back to the teams and scrum teams. I have had this confusion since long. Like if we were talking about the sprint of same length, so as far as a single team is concerned, and we say that the team should have the sprints of same length, I understand that concept. But what if multiple teams are working together? So should they have the same sprint length and the same start date and end date for the sprint, or like it is very much possible that they are having different sprint lengths and
No.
different start and end date?
So this is a good question, Ritu. Definitely, you need to understand from the top level. So when you say that each team and they have different length and starting date is different, so that means you are talking about um, a organization where everybody thinks that I am autonomous, I am doing what I need to do, I don't care about what other people are doing.
No, I'll just interrupt you.
Essentially, no,
Okay.
let me explain. Okay, so that means essentially you are saying that I don't care about other because other people are waiting for you. I don't care. I will give when my things are done. I will give and you take it and do. So that is the essential meaning. So predictability will not be there if that synchronization is not there. So means today I am doing something and I will finish my work at a particular time, and that is convenient for me. It may not be convenient for you because you are not synchronized, right? And people are not transparent about those, or people are not knowing what is going on, right? Okay, I started in Wednesday, so if two teams, they might be able to understand what the other team is doing. If there are 20 teams, you will not know which team doing what and when, if those synchronization not there. If I am working as 16 teams or 20 teams together, I have a release plan, and everybody is going to that meeting and understanding this is what needs to be started. Everybody will start tomorrow. That is the starting point, for example, tomorrow, and everybody will end in 2 weeks. Everybody understand this is my start date, this is my end date. Other team members are the same thing. Then any planning I am doing within my work area, right? I am linked with other. I have dependencies. The other people have dependencies. Those will be properly linked up, properly synced up, and we can work together. When I go to a meeting, Scrum or internal teams meeting, right? Okay, we have challenges, impediments. All those will come into picture, and people will get help only when we have this synchronization there. If synchronization is not there, everybody will be in trouble. And we have gone through, this is not just I am talking about, we have done the similar thing. We have faced so much of problem, especially system integration. Components are done, right? People are giving things. When we are trying to integrate, that time we are having challenge because they are scrum team is doing something in the middle. Our scrum iteration is done, our sprint is done, and we are waiting because their sprint is still going on, right? So we cannot sync it up, right? We cannot integrate things properly, right? Even prediction, right? I cannot predict things, overall picture. If I am talking about program, as a program manager, I cannot predict what will happen tomorrow, right? If I know that all teams will end tomorrow, I know that I can create a system review in the program level tomorrow, because I know everyone finishing. So day before or before 2 days, people, I am aligning everyone saying that, hey, let's prepare for the system test, system review, system demo, right? So if all are working different at time, this thing, then what will happen? I, as a program manager, I cannot coordinate. People will say, no, 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 I'm not ready, right? So there are a lot of other challenges, and you have to think.
The thing that confused me was that in a software industry, this is possible that we are aligning all the teams. But what if the same scenario occurs in maybe like manufacturing, like something of manufacturing sort, where the teams, maybe if I give a very layman example, if they are manufacturing parts of a car, one part might be more complicated where the team is taking more time. As a result, their sprint is getting longer, and the other team is maybe manufacturing smaller parts. So their sprint length is shorter. So how is this kind of work, like how does it work in Agile? How do we coordinate stuff? Because in software, I understand we can do all this, we can align the sprint lengths and do it. But what about this sort of environments?
So when you are talking about product delivery, it will work in the same fashion. Doesn't matter whether it is software or not software, right? Okay, so we talk about feature, and we talk about story. We talk about epic, we talk about capabilities, then feature, then story, right? Essentially breaking things in a way that everyone can deliver within a certain time box, right?
Yeah.
So a team who are working on smaller components, as you are mentioning, or other team who are working on bigger components or critical components might take more time. But we need to understand what is the minimum time required to deliver a component, right? Within a particular time box, right? We have to understand when a critical component is developed, those components are not developed just
Individually.
what I would say individually. Means, okay, we need to have again smaller components developed and then group together to create a bigger
PSI.
component, right?
Yeah.
So we need to find out how do I decompose this one? Where should I put the stop line, right? So that means this refinement process, which is nothing but it starts with decomposition and then refining and making sure we are delivering within a time box, right? Certain time box, right? So we need to define that time box, whether it is 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it may be. The shorter the better. And within that, what can be developed? When you say complex, that means if the team is doing a complex work and trying to deliver in a bigger time span, then we are not agile. That means we have not given enough time for us to think how I can break this one.
Right.
So decomposition is a key aspect in the product delivery. It is one aspect, one side, the top side, where basically we need to find out how do I break this one so that I can make smaller delivery, and that smaller delivery will be increment to the next delivery, right? So finally you will see that you break that complexity and make it simple. So first, if you read the 12 principle, we have, there are various things, so we have to make things simple. If you think that okay, your product delivery team is delivering something complex and team is complex, you are not agile. You are making things in a way that you are basically not thinking of how to make things simple and delivering in a simple way. So final end delivery might be complex, and that is where the Scrum came into picture, where I was putting that diagram, right? The certain on certain like requirement side, technology side, certainty and uncertainty, right? So all those, so Scrum falls into the middle part where complex, basically we talk about complex project, but only thing you have to understand, how do I break and make it simple. Everything we have to break it and make it simple and deliver.
Basically not featuring of on making parts. Otherwise, like, I should have a single team that can work on all the parts and make a shippable model.
Yes.
If I change my example in that sense. So
Yes.
basically the first approach that I was taking, that itself was wrong. That breaking down the teams in such a manner that one team is creating one product, another team is creating another part, I would say. Right?
Mhm.
So that
Yeah.
is something wrong. As per Agile, we should have a team that can work on a single PSI, I would say, altogether, whatever parts it is required to make it.
and
Right?
and and finally, suppose car, just talk about car because easy to explain. Suppose car, so we are delivering a specific model of a car, so that is basically my program goal. Then for that car we are talking about body, right? So maybe multiple teams working to develop the body, and multiple teams working to develop engine or related transmission related thing, right? Then uh, then if you think of the body, then we separate into multiple, each one is delivering something, right? So somebody is doing the steering, somebody is doing the seats, right? So the teams, right? So we have to think, so for each of the team their end goal is the car, but part of their team they are delivering something. So people are integrating, taking those, okay, I'm getting the steering wheel from other team, then I have to integrate with so and so that car will run, right? The wheels, then the transmission system, all those. So team level and the product level, we have to think how we are integrating together, right? So so in software we think of how we can break it and make different features, and each feature is tagged for a release is about 8 to 12 weeks. So within that what can be done. So then in each release we have sprints or iteration. In each iteration what we are delivering, right? So we talked about incremental delivery, right? Incremental delivery. So at a particular time what I have developed is basically can be utilized, right? If I think of car mod thing, right? So if I am developing, the first thing is the body. Can the body itself work? No, nothing, right? Because body doesn't work without engine, without this thing, right? But I have the older model, right? what a new car, what new model I am bringing is nothing but utilizing same engine earlier we had created. Almost everything same, but what is changing? Maybe my body is changing, right? When I am doing the change, so within the body, maybe only the seats are changing, right? Okay, so I have to take those old, integrate with the new one. Only 5 things changing. I'll introduce only one. Other 4 are still there. Change only that one. Then see that how this car is working. Then add, take the second part out, put the new one. Then see how it is working. Only thing you have to understand how I can do this one. It's not simple. I'm just sitting here and saying that it is like easy, like you can do anything. Everybody needs to put their head how we can do this one in an incremental way.
Absolutely.
Bottom line is not easy.
Thank you so much.
Sure, sure. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vishnu bhai, for today's session.
Definitely. Thank you, Manoj.
Thank you, Vishnu. And maybe because of the question and answer session, this was the like most engaging session till now and very interesting.
No, no, definitely. And as I go in, you'll see that it will be more interesting. Initially, it was little bit high level and
Yeah.
all the theory kind of thing was coming is like pure theory. Now we are touching into where we have to see what practice and how the practice works, all those things, and you will see things will be more interesting because people will relate to their day-to-day life work and connect with it. Okay, hey, I am having this challenge, how do I make it better, right? Things will happen, and question and answer will be able to do, and through different activities also will be able to do. But let's see how we can make it better.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you everyone.
Bye bye.
Have a good day. Bye now.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.